Okay, today is Wednesday, April 14th. This is class 18 for Cadd 212 in Revit. Today we're going to be going over how to create a parking lot. We're going to do a subregion versus split surface. And we're going to talk about how to add elevations to your site. And we're going to add a parking lot and create a parking lot for this building that we've created. So let's go ahead and jump into that. All right, so we've got a building like this, and we see that we've got a lot of modifications on this one, which is really nice. I want to talk about a couple things on this later after we go over today's lesson. So let's go ahead and jump into our site work. So we're going to create a parking lot. So we're going to go to our site level. I've got my elevation tags really close to this building, so I'm just going to pull them back so I have a lot of room to work with. Remember, I'm going to keep them in the same plane. I don't want them to move down here or anything because that's going to screw up my elevations. I just want to move them back off the building so I've got room to play with. All right, so those are back. Let's talk about just sites first. So let's jump to Massing and Site tab, and we're going to go to Topo Surface. Just as a reminder how sites work, we'll just drop in a couple of points. Remember, just going to be something like that for a basic site, and then our green check mark. We talked about split surface before, where split surface, if you just hold this, it tells you exactly what it is, and it breaks the topo surface into two separate and distinct pieces of ground. So it can work with them individually. We can delete one as we've done before, which we'll do on this one as well. But there's also another way that we can split the ground into two different surfaces, and that's by subregion. Let me turn on the color here. So we'll do split surface first, just as we've done before. So remember, if we have split surface active, we want to click on the site that we want split. And at this time, I can go ahead and just kind of create a shape. And click my green check mark. I've got two separate surfaces to kind of play with. At this time, if I don't want this part, I can just hit delete. I've got a hole in my site. But there's another way that we can do it. There's certain times that we use this, and that's a lot of times to cut out that building pad that's underneath here to get that ground out. But there's other times where we don't want it to be a totally separate piece of site. We want it to still interact with the original site, but we do want it to be like in a sectioned off, like as a sidewalk or something else like that. So by doing that, we're going to use subregion. And it works the same. You click on that, obviously it picks the site automatically there. And I'm still going to be able to draw whatever shape I want. So you can see this interacts with the overall site as opposed to the split surface that works differently. But when I click on this part, I can also go in there and change the category of the material I want. And then I've got like different material in this part. So if I wanted this to be like, I should have made that cast in place concrete. Let's do that. That's not like it. Now it's like part of my parking lot there. So I'd use this to create my parking lot because I want it to work with the actual site itself. And if I don't like the way the parking lot looks, it's a lot easier for me to just kind of delete it and get rid of it without having a hole left in my site. It's just they work pretty similar It's just another way, another tool to use in your toolbox that you can kind of play with and incorporate into your design how you want to. I would suggest using the subregion to create your parking lot in your site, and then also any kind of site work that you're going to be doing, which would include sidewalks and things like that to here. So I would use subregion for that. And then we'll use split surface to remove that land from inside of our building. So there's other times that we want to use that both, but it's just good to know the difference between those and just have another tool that we can work with. Let me delete this. So the big fun thing that we're going to be doing today is the elevations in here. So I'm going to jump back to site. Site tab, topo surface tool. Now we can add different undulations to the ground so it can look interesting. Obviously we don't have a lot of need for that in New Orleans, but it is kind of fun, another kind of fun tool to play with. In order to do that, the only thing you're going to be doing is changing this elevation right here. So say if I wanted to start at -5 feet, I can drop in a couple of points. So continue this. I'm just changing the elevation as I go. I got something weird that looks like that. So let's go to finish that and go to 3D and see what it looks like. I've got some weird site that looks like that. You can see how it's a lot lower here and then it goes up more. And you can see that it has the different elevation markers through these different lines right here, the topo surface. But we have the same issue that we did before, is that this ground is now inside the building, so we need to fix that as well. Just kind of a refresher on that. For that, we're definitely going to use split surface. So we can click on split surface, click on the surface that we want to split. I'm going to draw the shape that I want cut out, and that's just going to trace the outline of the building. I'll hit my green check mark. And this is usually where most people stop. But if you hide the floor, remember the ground is still there. That's when we highlight the ground and delete it. This would be correct. You can see inside now. We'll go ahead and reset that. So everything's pretty much the same that we've done our sites before, except we've added some elevations. There's another trick that we're going to do in order to make sure that this building is on a flat site. So right now you can see the surface is still intersecting the building. This is you know, we don't really actually want the ground to be laying up against the building. We want this to be on a flat site, so we have to adjust that next. So what I like to do with that is I'll just turn the building over again. I'm going to click on the site, make it active. Oops. click on the site, make it active, hit edit surface. And notice right around the perimeter and throughout our topo surface, we've got these points located throughout here. Well, these are all the points where their elevation changes. So we need all the points that go around the perimeter of the building to be set to 0. That way it'll be on a flat surface. So we need to select all those points. Oops. So you just click and drag and make sure all of those are connected. We come back up to our options bar, and we're going to set that elevation on all of those points to 0. And hit our green check mark. Usually it's a lot more dramatic effect, but we'll do it again and hopefully it will be. If you don't like the way that your current topo surface is looking, if you want to change it, make it look a little bit better, we can go ahead and highlight it again, edit surface. You can place different points, or just some of these points right here you can change. If you highlight this point, this one's set to 2 feet. If I wanted to set that to -5 foot. And then if I also wanted to place other points, see if I added 2 foot there. If I added, let's change this one to 10 foot or something dramatic. And we'll go ahead and finish that and just kind of jump back to 3D. Oh, we are in 3D. And see how we have added a few more changes. So you can adjust this the way you want to. This is not a great example. I just wanted to give you an idea how that works. So for your new site, you will have to incorporate some type of elevation, so I can see that you know how to add that and change the elevations of these. Any questions about how to do this? Let's go ahead and delete it and do it again. All right, we're going to go to Site tab. And this time we're actually going to incorporate it into an exact size that we want for our lot. So remember, in order to do that, we're going to use our property line tool. And we're just going to create that by sketching. So if we draw that out, it's a pretty big building, so I'll have a pretty big site. We'll do 260. Not 260, we'll just do that. Got a nice big site here for my parking lot and my land. So you'll be given an exact size to make your property. Then when you have the size of the property, you're going to go back to topo surface. And we're going to change some elevations. Let's make this like -5 foot. And bring this up to 2 foot. -2 foot. And then we'll bring this back down to -5 foot. Something weird. So let's hit the green check mark. Let's jump to 3D. So here we have our building kind of flying over the site itself. A couple of things that we want to do on there. Oops. Change that to wireframe so I could see through the ground. So now I'm going to go to split surface, split this surface, and draw the shape of my building. I'm just going to do a quick shortcut and use this rectangle just because it's a more complicated building to go around. And you'll see what the difference is when we do that as well. So I'll hit my green check mark. Let me turn the color back on. Now I can get rid of this. Delete. So we can see our building through the site now. So we still have like a big hole, the building's still like flying above it. So this is where I set my points all around this space to 0. So they'll be flush with the bottom of the building. So I'm going to click on the site, make it active, hit edit surface, select all the site points that are around that opening. And this is when I set them all to 0. Hit my green check mark. Let's see how it looks. Whoosh. So now I have my site nicely set on my my building nicely set flat on my site itself, which is pretty nice. So you see, this is what you're looking for, something where the two sides meet. This is why we go around the perimeter of the building, because we don't have like these large gaps. If I wanted to at this time, I could go back and add like a little mini site right here, and a little piece of topo surface and make that like a little garden or something like that. So that's not a problem. So that's how we're going to add some different elevations to our site. Any questions about that before we move on? All right, so now that we have our site set, we want to add our parking lot. There's a few different ways that you can add a parking lot to Revit. What we're going to do on this one is we're just going to use the tools that we already have. And we're going to go to our Massing and Site tab, and we're going to use Subregion for this one. So let's go to site level. We're going to do Subregion. And at this point, we're going to create our parking lot. I've got my temporary dimensions on there, how that's going to come out, how large that parking lot's going to be. If I wanted to change that to just 100 feet, and then we can change it there. We'll leave room for the sidewalk, so you can adjust that. So I've just got this building pad here, basically. So I'm going to hit my green check mark at this time. With it still active, I'm going to go into my materials. I'm going to change that to cast in place concrete. Let's turn the color on. The 3D with our color on. And now you can see that's the beginning of our parking lot. It's probably too small for what we need because we're going to incorporate it at least 50 spaces in here. And we're also going to include some handicapped parking. So you can see you have a lot of freedom to design whatever you want this site to look like. So you're going to have a set site size, but it's up to you how you want to incorporate everything else. You don't necessarily have to keep this parking lot this shape, but you will have to figure out how to incorporate 50 parking spaces into that site. So how do we add parking spaces? Once again, Massing and Site tab, and right here under parking components. So we'll click on that, and we come over to properties. A lot of the stuff is already in here, which is really nice. We don't have to search it. another way. There's a few different ways that we can use that. You see, you can have, there's the size and then also the angle that you can have your parking at. We'll just use a regular 90-degree parking for now. I'm going to go to a top-down view. And say I wanted to start laying out my parking lot right here. Well, we can just keep clicking along and doing one at a time like that. It gets a little tedious. Or we can use our array tool. Another parking space right here. Notice I can flip it around just by clicking on the space bar. And then I'm going to have this one face this way as well. Have two different parking lots set in the same spot, parking spaces. We'll go to the Modify tab, Modify panel, and right here is the Array tool. If we click on that, and then we select what we want to array. We'll do Finish Selection. Oops. Have that active. You can see I can change the number. So I can say 10. I click on where I want it to start and where I want it to end. Just going to lay out all those spaces for you right there. Say if we only want it, say if you want a 12 now, we can change the number there. If you wanted to go back to 5, you can change the number as well instead of laying them out one at a time. So let's do that one more time with this one down here. So we're going to go to Modify tab, Modify panel, Array tool. Click on what you want to array. You're going to right click and finish selection. At the time, we're going to click where we want to start the array from and where we want it to end. And click on the number then. It's rather ornery at times. There we go. And now we've incorporated 10 parking spaces. If we wanted to change the number of spaces, we don't have to delete one. We can just click on one of it and it makes all of them active again. And that's where we can change the number of spaces that we have there. So I don't use Array a lot, but it is nice to have just as a little shortcut for, for things like this, parking lots and things. But it's not really a tool that I do use a lot. One other thing that you want to think about when you're laying out your parking lot is what's the difference between these two spaces here. Obviously, a lot of this stuff would be set by code. We don't have that code information right now, so I'm just kind of giving you, free reign to create the parking lot how you want to. But one thing you want to think about is what the distance is between these two spaces, because we'll have cars going down this way, we'll have cars going down this way. So if you want to space those at least probably 16 feet apart, 20 feet apart, whatever, you just want to make sure that they're not so close together that it's hard for somebody think about the traffic flow between these two spaces when you're laying that out. You're also going to incorporate some kind of sidewalk from here to your building, however you wanted to do that. And then also, let's go to Architecture tab, Components tool. There's more parking lot features that we can put in here. So you would go to Load Family. We'll scroll down to Site, and then Parking. And we have some fun stuff that we can add in here. So if you wanted to add a special ADA curb into your sidewalk, you can do that. We have directional arrows that you can incorporate. I do want you to use a couple of islands. So if you do that, we'll just click on the island, make it active. You don't have to use this one, but just using that as an example. Over here, you can see that you can pick different islands as well. Here's a 90-degree straight one. Let's go back to components, back to load family, back to parking. The other thing that I do want you to include are parking spaces that are handicapped accessible. So we have our parking space ADA. So we'll click on that, make that active, and see how that comes in with the parking space next to it. Here you can lay this out like this, or you can use array as well. To go over array one more time, we'll get a modify tab, array tool, click on what we want to array, right click, finish selection. This is where we want it to start the copy from. This is where we want it to end. And say if we wanted 4 spaces. Thank you. So we've got our 4 spaces laid out. Also within these, we want to go ahead and make sure that people know that there are handicapped spaces. So we'll go to components again, load family. You can add the parking symbol. You can array that one also, so it goes across here. Let's figure out how we're going to do that. Use the array tool. We'll click on this little guy right here. We'll do finish selection. Now, since he's in the middle of this, sometimes it's a little tricky to figure out how we want to do the array, but we still can use it from this point right here. And then copy it over next to this point right here. Notice you can see where that's moving to. And we'll set that to 4. And those are pretty much in the same spot in each parking space. Let's go back to Architecture tab, Components, Load Family, more parking lot stuff. Let's see what we got. There's a single stripe if you want to add that. So there's different ways that you can add all these different things. So I'm going to leave that up to you. In the mod, when it is live, there's going to have a list of stuff that you are required to have in your parking lot. But then you can add additional things to your site as well. So let's see what else, other kind of fun site stuff we have. Let's see. If you want to add bike stands, trash cans, anything else, think about how you want this site to look. Make this grass, add a flower bed, something like that. You can add plantings. Just think about how you do want that site to look. You want it to look finished, not like it's still a work in progress. Any questions about this so far, y'all? It's pretty much it for the lecture today. You can refer back to this, and then when the mod's live, it will be live, not shortly after class. And everything you'll need to incorporate will be in that mod. Any other questions?
Yeah, do we need egresses to the parking lot?
Yeah, yes, you need to, yeah, you'll add like, a road into it. If you wanted to add a road into it, remember to do that. You're just going to go to Site tab. You'll use your subregion for that. And then from the parking lot here, you can, like you say, depending on how you want to draw it, you can just, have that added here. Finish that, change that to cast in place concrete. That way you do have access to the parking lot, and so you'll add sidewalks as well. Any other questions, y'all? All right, cool. Before we break, and we just want to go over one thing on this building. So I like this building. I like how it's changed up a little bit, and I like how we have access to the outside from here. One thing that is off a little bit is this flooring that we have here. This is our indoor-outdoor flooring. So even though this is an indoor-outdoor space, so this same flooring, we don't want to have this wood finish on here. So we do want to change that to maybe just a generic flooring, and then change that to concrete. So it definitely changed that. And then also the way this is kind of laying on here, it's like it's not covering these walls. So it probably changed the shape of that as well. So we can go ahead and hit edit boundary. What I would do to finish that, go to straight top down view. I'd cover the top of that just with this section. And actually, it looks like the whole floor is one. It wasn't split into two previously. I'd go ahead and resplit this. So you have a separate exterior flooring material on the outside, and you have a separate flooring material on the inside. In order to make this flush, I can use my align tool. I want it aligned here from here. So where you want it to align to, same we'll do here again. I want it aligned to this one. So I'm going to click this line, and then click on this one and make it active. And that'll pull over. And same with this. I want it flush with this side of the building. So I'm going to click on here and then click on here. So now they're aligned as well. Let's hit that green check mark. Let's jump to 3D. So we still have a little bit of weirdness going on here. So what I would want to do on here is actually kind of change this floor. Let's try it. Let's edit it again. Let's go ahead and edit boundary. A very detailed floor, which is good. I'm going to try and do a shortcut and see if this works. Actually, you know what would probably be best for this, since this is so complicated, is to delete this part here and end it here. Because when I hit my green check mark, it's going to freak out. So I would actually want to start this floor over again. Yes. But whoever's building this is, if you can figure out a way to make this look flush, we could sit here and do it on class, but there's ways that we can work this out. You just don't want, we don't want to have this kind of mushed up where it's like on top of each other at this point. But we don't want that top of the wall to be showing through either. So what you could do is do a separate floor just for this exterior part here, and just make that lay on top of it as opposed to on this part. Have this inset and then just have another finished floor on top of it, and that way you'll have more access for this balcony as well. So we've got a little bit to play with on here, whoever this is, and I want to see how you resolve that, how you solve that. And then also it looks like this is off because this door looks very small. No, I was wrong there. There's the angle I was looking at. Okay, so yeah, just whoever this is, play with this balcony, see if you can make this work a little bit better. And besides that, everything that there looks good. So same issue with this flooring right here. This is interior flooring that has come to the exterior, so you want to change this floor as well. So give it a try, and if you have questions, contact me directly. We'll text, and then we can work one-on-one with this to get this to work a little bit better. Any questions, y'all?
Yeah, I noticed that the bottom windows are actually curtain walls, but in this original schematic, it called for windows. How much of the original schematics are we allowed to change?
This is acceptable. Yeah, I mean, in the real world, we'd want to talk to the client about it and stuff like that. But yeah, when we talked about curtain walls, we said we could incorporate those into other aspects of the building as well. So you can do that. You can change the type of windows, and incorporate more curtain walls. You can definitely change the window types.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we'll go ahead and end class. I'll get that mod live. If you got any questions, text me. But a lot of work to do to get this finished next week in class. Next 2 weeks in class, we're going to move into construction documents where we're doing some other stuff. You can still be working on your design work, but we're going to be moving into another phase where we're going to be doing some different stuff and not actually learning new design techniques, but just other tools in Revit. So keep working on your design work, get that knocked out, and we can go from there. Oh, one last thing I just caught on here. Whoever this is, you need to change the height of your ceilings because they're not flush. They're kind of dangling out here. Here's your ceiling, so let's make sure that we raise that to maybe like, let's try 9'2". This is maybe 9 foot. Maybe 9'1". But make sure that your ceiling isn't hanging out here, especially in your curtain wall, because that looks, looks a little weird where we can see that through your curtain wall. So whoever this is, take a look at your ceilings and get those adjusted as well. All right, we'll go ahead and end class, and I will see y'all next week.